Hello, and welcome back to the sim. In this one, we're sitting here on the ground in Buttonville Airport. Millionaire just filled this up and we're ready to get out of here. But before we get going, let's cover what's new in the update. So they made a bunch of fixes, quality of life things. The fuel mixture bugs. So now it won't matter if you have a mixture binding, it should be removed. They made a fix for being able to move the speed brake. Again, same problem. If you bound a speed brake, that would affect the plane even though there is no speed brake or spoilers. One of my favorites, they fixed the VFR custom view, crash to desktop. So this one is great because the default camera, when you reset your view, it uses the fixed VFR custom view. So if you have a preferred position, you can move your camera, save this value, and that's where you'll be when you reset your camera. Little things like fixing parking brake spelling. They added volumetric lights to the landing and strobe lights. They fixed the yaw dampener so it correctly turns on. That way it engages and disengages when you're crossing 200 feet, irrespective of the autopilot. They restored a default model, so it's hidden, but that was the thing that was needed for the paint kit to work without any issues. So the paint kit will also now be able to be published and everybody will to make awesome paints. They fixed them for performance, though when you went into certain menus, it was affecting things. So the weight and balance in the system tests, that's been fixed. Also, the autopilot will now only become available after 400 feet, and they adjusted the font color issue that was happening to some people, mostly on Xbox. Now, there's a couple other things that might be in there, but those were the major quality of life items that they fixed for this round. Okay, so as we start heading over to our plane, let's go ahead, jump into VAMS, and let's get rid of that storage cover. Now, of course, we want to go ahead and get our ground power unit out. So luckily, we've gone and set a binding up so that we can bring in our GPU, get it plugged in, and get it going. So at this point, we're ready to go ahead and get the covers off, and we'll get the chocks out. Luggage wise, well, if we go ahead and open up that luggage door and head on over, we'll see that it's empty. So we're going to go ahead and jump into our luggage, and we're going to set up for a golf trip over to Ottawa. So we want to head over to our statics again, and we're going to go ahead and close up that door. Headed over to our status. We could be cold and dark, taxi, takeoff. By default, we're currently cold and dark. Of course, we attach the ground power, so we've now got power to the systems. So let's go ahead and jump inside. So looking inside, power has come up, and we're going to go ahead and turn off our master caution. We're going to head to our switches, and we're going to make sure that we've got both our batteries on. Now, this is the one thing that has been brought up. It is kind of hard to see some of these. So if you hit the space bar when you're in here, you will be a little higher up. So as we can see, we've got our battery switches on. We're going to go ahead and get our gens on. So if we bring up our before engine start checklist, pre-flight complete, door latched, parking brake as required. So we do have our parking brake currently on. Gen 1 and 2 switches are on. External GPU currently as needed. We'll leave it connected for now. Verify active FADEC channel. We've got FADEC channel A. Strobe lights, let's go ahead and get those on. So let's go ahead and get our strobe lights on. Cast messages, currently external power and probe heat is off. Thrust lever. So, thrust lever is idle. And if we look down, we can see that we can move our thrust lever. So we'll go ahead and get back to where we were. And just tilt our head down so we can see the light switches for now. And thrust lever is idle, brakes, hold, engine set to run. Set our run switch. We'll just hide the yoke for now, or side stick. So we're going to set to run. Engine knob run. Fuel pump check. It's on and we can hear it. Verify engine start, battery temp, or engine start volts. So looking at those, they look good. We hit start and now we see those start to go. And instruments, we are monitoring 25 and 2 and 1 indication. Everything looks good. Alright, so engine instrument system, looking at it, we look to be all in the greens. Engine IPS, so icing protection as required. We should be okay currently. ECS control panel. It is currently set to disabled for now. So if we wanted to change that, we could go ahead and turn it off of disable. Maybe we go to auto and we could give ourselves a little bit of warmth so that we're good. External GPU disconnect. So we're going to go and hit our button bind to disable it, and our cast message cleared it up. Oxygen master switch, verify that it is on. So if I go to my switches and we want the oxygen switch, so master oxygen switch, we heard it. Avionics initialization, it is complete. Caps pin is removed. Passengers are briefed. Seatbelts are secured. The bleed fresh air switch should not be set to bleed until battery 1 and battery 2 have been on for 2 minutes or more. So we're going to go ahead and say that they have now been on for 2 minutes. We have been talking for quite some time. So we'll go ahead and we'll get our, whoops, that's the landing light. We want our fresh air bleed to on. Bleed switch, fresh air set to bleed. Excellent. Well, I guess we should go to initialization first. So database, Navigraph charts. If you don't have them, you click on it. It is going to pop up a browser. You go ahead and you sign into your account. You allow connectivity. You say allow. Then you come back and you link account. And life will be good, and it'll link to the working title G3000. So counts, there you go. So that's good. System tests. Go ahead and do the pre-flight test.
Higher, 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 higher. Stall, stall, stall.
So that's done. Let's go ahead and initialize fuel. FOB sync, 149 gallons, going to be plenty to get to Ottawa. And weight and balance. So we got 2 people. And I don't know, 100 pounds of luggage. So, flight plan. We're going to go ahead, add origin. So this is where I always, after adding those, I add my procedures. Alright, so for our departure, we're going to use the Kepta 3 to Rickham. And because it doesn't have the ability to just pick Rickham, we're going to go with that. So due to the winds and the wish to have a little bit of an extended runway, let's get our speed bugs. Let's go ahead and get them all on. We're going to take off runway 15. We're going to do our best with it. It'll get us in the direction we want to go anyway. Not much of wind, it looks like. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to load that. Let's go ahead and take us to the south, and then we're going to come back. That's the departure that's available. Now, for an arrival, we're going to be looking at the Capital 5 from MyVOC. So we want to go ahead and do MyVOC. We're going to load that. And then for additional waypoints in our en route section, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add TALEB and BOMET. So we'll get a turn pretty quick to TALEB. They won't send us all the way. And then after TALEB, we want BOMET. So yeah, let's take the close one. Why would we want one that's 1,800 nautical miles away? Let's go for the one in Canada. So by BOMET, we want to try to be at, say, 25,000. It'll be pretty sweet to get there. Now, the departure procedure says we don't go beyond 3,000. So we'll set that to 3. And as far as Rickham's concerned, we'll say maximum 9,000. And we've said we want to go up to 25 for BOMET. Now, when we go ahead and we look at our capital arrival, we know that we have a Canic at 23. So Canic 23,000. And then Lanark, depending which runway you're going for, 07 or the others, there's a different restriction. And right now, if the winds are going to be favoring 07, which it looks like they are, so we want to go ahead and be not above 10,000. So we're going to go ahead for Lanark and throw in 10,000. So that'll be our arrival. And then Visol, we're going to want to be at 3,000 because that's actually the one of the pretty close to like the FAF, or not the FAF, the IAF for the ILS 07. So we'll go ahead and we'll throw in 3,000, and that should make us pretty happy for where we need to get to. So we've got that dialed in. So flight plan is good. And so all those are great. So we're going to accept initialization and we are good. So comm, nav, everything's set. ATS clearance. We're going to say that our ATIS and our clearance, we've got them. Altimeter. So our altimeter currently, cheated, and we know what it is. Obviously, could have gone to weather, gone to the METAR, and we're not going to get anything for Buttonville, but close by, we should get something like City Center, and we can see 3010, and that's what we got. So that looks good. So at this point, we also want to head into the VAMS. This is where all of those other things are, even though I nicely have controls assigned for all of these items. We can go ahead and get our headphones on. So we got our headphones on, FAQ, if you want to find stuff. And we are in the executive configuration. So we got our headphones on. We are pretty much good to go. Altimeter transponder is set. So for that, we come on down. We're going to go to our navcom, and we're going to go to our transponder. 4, 5, 6, 7. Hit enter. We are in altitude reporting. So transponder is set. Heading, initial altitude. So we're going to do a heading sync when we get there, but for now we'll go ahead and put on our flight director mode. Whoops. Not our auto throttle. So we'll put on our flight director mode. We'll show heading. And again, we're going to go off of runway 15. So easiest thing to do first is sync my heading and then scroll it around to about 15. Alright, so let's go ahead and let's turn off those parking brakes. Flight controls are free and correct. Yes. Trim, go ahead and set it to 6. There it is. Flaps. Let's go ahead and get it to 50. Electric trim, roll trim is set. Cast messages, probe heat is currently off. Not sure why, but seats in most upright position. Before taxi, parking brakes, we did check. And departure briefing, we're good. Landing lights, turn those on, we're good. Probe heat switch, so we're going to go ahead and get our probe heat on. So our probe heat goes on. Engine IPS switch as required. Due to some of what we're seeing out there, let's go ahead and put our engine ice on. That way it's on. And we could put our wing ice on and our wing stabilizer as well. So we're going to put those on. Just looks like we're getting up into weather and it's winter. So it can't hurt to have that. And we'll worry about windshield if we need it when we are airborne. Okay. Wing stab, or wing stab is supposed to be off. Okay, my bad. Wing stab off. We'll keep our windshield on low. Cast messages, check. Trims are 6, flaps 50. Verify takeoff battery. Yep. Okay. So, for takeoff, multifunction configure. Channel A, channel B. Yep. Alright, normal takeoff. Alright, so takeoff thrust set. Engine restrictions are normal. Release the brakes. And looking for 90 knots. Wow. Little twitchy. That. There's no way that's too twitchy. And flaps are up. Alright, so let's go ahead and we're going to go flight level change. We want 165. We're going to go into LNAV mode. And we're going to get gonna fly this a little bit longer ourselves. We're gonna come back. So, autopilot comes on. Pitch, climb, obstacles, airspeed. Alright, so we are currently on our way to Rickham, which is exactly where we would be headed at this moment in time. Though we might be told, give us a heading of 120. Now they might turn us out, but get us away from downtown downtown Toronto. So we'll start the left-hand turn. We'll move away from Toronto, and then they might give us a when able. Direct TALEB, so we'll get our direct to TALEB. So we'd go ahead and we'd say when able direct TALEB. I would already start a turn towards the east so that we were headed in the direction of TALEB, so it's not as abrupt. Again, we got to stay below 250, below 10. So we're starting the turn towards TALEB, and now is a good time to hit direct 2. We hit direct TALEB, we get our new advertise, and we go ahead and we go into nav mode. And so, because we had already started the turn, it makes it so that the intercept isn't as abrasive of a left-hand turn, since we were like 90 degrees off course. So at this point, they also might say, okay, go ahead now and climb 9 or 1,000. Again, not always straight up to your final altitude. So 9 or 1,000, we're going to go ahead and go into level change mode. And we're going to start climbing. Now again, at this point, we could also come down here in FMS mode and enable the auto throttle. So now at this point, the auto throttle is going to take over, and it's going to go ahead and climb for us in maximum climb thrust. So climbing, thrust lever is MCT. In our case, we're using auto throttle, so it'll take care of that. Engine parameters, we're going to monitor cabin pressure. We are going to monitor. So far, our pressure and our cabin look good. Ice protection as required. So, ice protection looks good. And altimeter transition, yep, we'll go to standard when we get to 18,000. Usually at this point as well, we've now moved far enough out. We've gone to the next shelf. They've made confirmation a lot of times, even flying smaller planes, we're already going to be put up to our final altitude. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to continue that climb, and we're going to go all the way up to 2,000, or flight level 250. Back in the cockpit as we're coming up to flight level 180 here in North America. That means we come over to our baro and we push for standard baro pressure. And as you saw, right around this point is where the flight level change and your FMS climbing switches from indicated airspeed and switches over to Mach 3.70. To So now we're going to be climbing with Mach 3.70 all the way up to flight level 250. So as we approach our top of climb, altitude mode engages and the plane will begin to pitch over, and you can see the speed profile changes from a climb of Mach 0.37 to a speed of Mach 0.52 as it speeds up to MMO. So 25,000, and this is going to be our flight level. Obviously we're going to approach MIVOC, so in the cruise we want thrust levers. Well, we're using auto throttle, so we're good. Ice protection as required, currently we are good. And our EIS we're going to monitor. So up next is going to be the descent checklist. So we're going to check our thrust lever, we're going to check landing field elevation. So again, our landing field elevation is here. So if we look down here, 355, so we are good. Ice protection will be as required, and then we'll have our local altimeter settings. So if we go to our aircraft systems, we can see our status in info page. Of course, if we change the control over here and we set that to aircraft systems, and we go back over here and we set that to map. So let's aircraft systems. So our aircraft systems page looks good. Our focus is over there. Aircraft systems, engines and fuels. So we can see our fuel, shut-off valve, open, everything looks normal. Electrical power, all of our batteries and voltages look good. Ice protection, so we've got our IPS fluid. Outside air temperature is minus 36, so we're not going to be picking up any moisture or icing up here. Nose gear is locked and up. Parking brake is off. Fix that spelling. And locked it up. So the gears all look good. System test we don't need to do. So we validated that. Makes us feel good. So we're going to go ahead and look at our checklist, or just hit a button to jump back in. So that's good there. So let's go back to our MFD on this one. Let's bring up our flight plan. And so we're currently on our way to MIVOC, where we'll be 25, and we're going to be preparing for CANIC of 23. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to set up 23,000. And of course, we're going to come to our VNAV, and we're going to enable VNAV. And then that way we've got our information. However, we do want to go in our MFD to our map settings, and I believe we want our flight plan text in the inset. That is there. And if we come out of our full screen, make sure that map settings, let's get that inset window back on. We can see we are time to top of descent. We are 3 minutes out. So with that, we are good to go. We're holding up here just shy of the barber pole. Moving along, we got about 3 minutes, so we're gonna go ahead and hop outside. So we're under a minute out, and it's looking like we're going to want to aim for about 2,000 feet per minute in a descent. So we'll go ahead and we'll prep with arming VS mode. And of course, it's going to hold 0 because when we enabled it, we were already at 0 feet per minute. And then as we get ourselves down to that time of top of descent, so in 30 seconds, we were aiming for about 2,000 feet. It doesn't matter, you don't have to wait right for time of descent. You can start going ahead and enabling that now. So there you go. We've used the information to show it to us. One of the other things you can do is, of course, you can come down here and you can switch into manual speed mode if you want to back it up just a little to slow down a little bit more so you don't run into the barber pole too much. Also, what's nice is I'm going to ditch a whole bunch of things there. We're going to get rid of that, and we want our wind vector, track vector, north up, that's fine, range reserve, and now we got our range to altitude, so our banana showing up. We can go ahead and declutter a little bit. So we got all of our settings set up for our MFD as well. So there we go. We're already down to 3,000 feet. The next one is Lanark at 10,000. So we have to go ahead and dial in 10,000. But while we're spinning, we can already enable VS mode. And we can go ahead and dial in that target of 2,600 currently. So we're going to throw 2,200 in, and then we're going to dial ourselves down 10,000, and you can see our banana extending out beyond Lanark. Zero 49er at 6. You can already hear the ATIS coming in, so we're still good for runway 7. So there you go. Our banana has us a little bit further out, so we're going to go ahead and we'll pitch down a little bit more, and that speed is increasing a little bit, but we still look good. And there we go, our banana's not too far out, though we do have a pretty aggressive descent in. So 07 looks like the right one, so we're going to go to our flight plan, we're going to go to our procedure, we're going to go to our approach. We're going to use the ILS 07, but we're going to do it from OW, not from YOW. We don't want to fly all the way out to the VOR to come back. We're going to use the OW transition. You've got a MOBI twice, you got Visal, and then you got a MOBI again. So those are that's like the procedure turn. We're going to go ahead and load that. Now, we don't have to worry too much about it, but when we look at the ILS 07, the briefing plate, we are good to go. We've already got our ATIS, we would be talking to arrivals on 3515 normally, and then switching to tower on 18.8. Loc of 109.5, and we've already got the loc dialed in, so 109.5 is dialed in. Our final course is going to be 071. Now note, you need to dial this in with a key binding. You can't dial it in currently with anything in the UI. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to be going to the initial fix of Visal. And at Visal, we'd be looking for 3,000 feet. So if we head on back and we come into our flight plan and we look at VISL, VISL of 3,000 feet, and you'll see that VISL is actually going to take us straight in. These user waypoints are all loaded because of the old flight plan manager, as it's trying to figure out how to fly that procedure turn. In our case, we're going to intercept at VISL the ILS, so we're going to manually switch over our nav source once we have it alive and we're on the ILS. So we can see our VNAV caret. Life is good. And we are on our way down currently. So we're going to turn off auto throttle, turn it back on. And now that we're into knots, and we're below 10,000 feet, so we also want to make sure to dial in that barrow that we just heard. So our 3016, that's in, and so as we approach 10,000, we want to be under 250. We'll go ahead and dial back to about 220 at this point. So we're going to continue on down, and we're going to go all the way down. Make sure to keep that descent going. Hit that VS. We want to get down to 3,000. That's our next constraint. But after that, we take 3,000 all the way till we intercept the glide slope. So at this point, we're all the way down to VISL, and then from VISL, we're actually going to go straight in on the ILS. So that's nice and easy, and you can see that VNAV is starting to get above us. So all we have to do is bring that VS back up to the sideways V. And VS target negative 1100, we're right in there. So we go ahead and we hold that. So let's go to our switches. Let's go ahead and get our landing light on. Let's jump back to our ice protection as required. Local altimeter is set. Seats and seat belts are secured. Approach briefing is complete. All seats must be normal, upright. Yeah, did that. Ice protection as required. Lights as required. Flaps will get to 50 as we get a little bit closer in our approach. So we're going to go ahead and start slowing up to about 170. And there we see that the IOW ILS navigation aid has come alive. So we do have the green bearing pointer. So we are ready for that. So we're going to go ahead and start our slowing up to about 140. Or at least 160. And of course, with that, we can go ahead and get our flaps below 190. We can go ahead to 50%. And so as we come into that, it's going ahead and giving us a increase in power as we come down through the layer. So at this point, we are looking real good. We're set up on our way to VISL, and in a minute we should be there. And with IOW and our course set to 071, we're going to go ahead and we're going to switch into loc mode, and we're going to let it capture the localizer. So at this moment, we've got the loc captured. We can see the green diamond above. We're going to go ahead and arm approach mode. So that would have been this button right here. So I have physical buttons for it. We are now in altitude capture mode at 3,000 feet. So we'll be doing a level flight to intercept the glide slope. So, flaps 50, airspeed down to 140 for our approach. So go ahead and dial that down to 140. Checklist complete. Before landing, landing gear goes down. Flaps as required, we'll go full flaps. Cabin pressure differential should be 0. So our cabin pressure is coming down. Our diff is -1. I guess that's okay. Windshield IPS switch is off, so we need to turn the windshield de-ice to off. Our autopilot will go off, and then VREF plus 10 is what we're looking for, which is about our approach speed. We can go ahead and zoom in. So we can see we are established on the loc. We're slowed down to 140. And with that diamond coming in, I'm gonna go ahead and drop the gear. And we're now on our way down as the glide slope has locked and gone green, and we'll go ahead and go full flaps. Look for autopilot off and VREF to VREF plus 10. Got it. So landing flaps 100%, airspeed VREF for the landing tables, thrust levers as required, and then brakes as required. We'll worry about the go round, but if we need to go round, we will go to takeoff thrust. We will press the toga button. We will pitch for 7 degrees, flaps up to 50. Landing gear up with positive rate of climb. We'll pitch for VX, and then flaps up as we cross 115. And then go into the climb out, so resume normal climb out, so reduce power as required. All right, so landing checklist complete. Oh, minimums, 573. Whoops. Minimums, Barrow, 573, so we jump to 580. Hit enter. We have minimums. Make sure we're on 18.8. Runway lights and minimums. Ooh, just in the touchdown zone. Alright, flaps go up. Obviously we don't need much braking, as we are rolling out here with some low vis, but plenty enough to go ahead and get it on the ground. So we're going to get off here on the taxiway. And then we're going to head on over to World Fuel Innotech and drop off our passengers so they can go do some golfing tomorrow when the weather gets a little bit better. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get our parking brake on. Let's go to our checklist, and we don't need this checklist, so we're going to skip on down, go to next checklist. So flaps are up, wing stab IPS switch is off, so yep, we've got those all off. Engine IPS is also off, we were good for that flight. Probe heat is coming off, so go ahead and get our probe heat off. Well, probe heat's off, it's supposed to be off. Engine ice off, wing stab off, wing ice off. All those are off. External lights as required, so we don't need our landing light and we don't need our strobe lights, so those are all off. Cancel our master caution. Brakes check. So thrust lever is idle. Allow engine to remain ground idle for 2 minutes minimum prior to shutdown. Okay, so give it a couple seconds. Engine IPS switch is off. Bleed switch is fresh air. So our bleed switch is currently fresh air. So yeah, fresh, sure. Fresh air bleed, so I guess it goes to fresh air, which is the front. So we're going to go ahead and turn that to the fresh air position. Oxygen master goes off. And lights to avoid unnecessary FADEC system faults. Do not remove aircraft power until N2 minus 24%. Okay. So engine knob goes off, and we hit the start button. Waiting for N2 to go below 24%. It's there, and caps pin go ahead and replace. So shutdown, Gen 1 and Gen 2, so those go off. And then battery 1, battery 2. Parking brake is in, egress door pin replace, and airplane secure, because as soon as we turn these off, we are going to lose that power. So we've got that. So let's go ahead and turn off our batteries. So coming outside, like they said, we need to now secure the plane. So first thing we're going to do is we need to open up that luggage door so that they can go ahead and remove those golf clubs from there. That's very important. So once they've done that, we're going to go ahead and close that up. We're going to go ahead and get the chocks in. We're going to put the covers on, and we're going to put the storage cover in. Well, guys, that's going to do it on this one for sure, as we got the Vision here into Ottawa in some pretty low-vis conditions. If you liked it, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Come along on the next one, because I'm sure the next update is going to have some great stuff as well. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.